Welcome to WTSS, race number 9 of Season 7. We're at the Texas Motor Speedway, the second big speedway race of the season. Last week at Watkins Glen, we saw an absolute battle to the end of the race that resulted in Allison Figueroa stealing the victory to score career win number 1 in the dying stages at Watkins Glen. We've got 10 minutes to figure out who puts it on the pole here at Texas. New point leader Ryan Reed is now on the defense coming into this weekend at his home race. Who puts it on the top? Second Speedway of the year. The previous Speedway we had was Michigan International Speedway, and it was Mitchell Mark in the 28 scoring his first career victory earlier this season.
And he's the first one out here.
First one out on the racetrack, just as I was talking at him. The 28, Mitchell Mark, immediately trying to get right back to where he left off at Michigan.
Now Texas turns 1 and 2 are slightly different than turns 3 and 4.
Much more banking in 3 and 4 than in 1 and 2. But the trade-off is that the corners are not as wide through 3 and 4 as they are in 1 and 2. So you've got much less wiggle room if you make any mistakes or get into contact through 3 and 4. This weekend, there is a new livery on the grid, and it is the 69 of Mitchell Carter. The last weekend, the team ran a crowd-funded entry with help from multiple racing fans to fund their efforts as they searched for a primary sponsor. They're still finalizing said deal, but race driver Mitchell Carter is now funding the car out of his own pocket with his own Orange Velocity branding on the car, that his YouTube channel. But they said that hopefully by the next race, they will have a new primary sponsor on that 69 car, and Long John Silver's will not have to cover it for the rest of the year.
That's going to be good for them. They really fell off a cliff after it left.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks without a primary sponsor, they have averaged qualifying of 39th place in a 40-car field. So it's been kind of rough for them. Mitchell Mark setting the early pace, but you're going to see that here. It's a lot about tire temps. The more laps you do, the quicker you get. And really, these guys are just going to...
How much tire wear?
Going to have to try and figure out where that tire wear fall-off is, how many laps you can do. As we have our first sub-29, Jake Stevens. Also, one of these big games you have to play with Speedway group qualifying is the draft. Play the draft to your favor. We saw it at Michigan.
Yeah, we were talking so much about dirty air, and now it's pretty much flipped.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw it at Michigan. The top 10 in qualifying all had draft on their laps. So you gotta figure a good balance between clean air and drafting on this qualifying lap. Jake Stevens looks to be really quick out there. Jeffrey Finguy's up in the top 5, but we saw Finguy Saitomi looked really strong in Michigan. Aiden Shepard and Tristan Wilhoit, 2 other Texas natives there, nose to tail on the exit of 4. Daniel Giroux jumps up into second place. That is 2 rookies on the front row provisionally at the moment. Giroux was one of the standouts at Michigan, qualified dead last, but it felt like he had the biggest rocket ship underneath of him for the first half of that race, and he climbed up all the way to the lead at one point. Ended up settling for a top 5, but it was still a top 5 nonetheless, and still the only one of his career to this point.
But it is still young. He's shown a lot of promise in this, and even this short time span.
Another thing you're going to have to deal with that drivers really didn't have to deal with at Michigan is fighting for track position. We saw it at the short tracks. Track position is key on your qualifying laps. If you get people holding you up and you know you're quick enough to put improvements out there, you're not going to be able to put those improvements out there. Jake Stevens and Dan Giroux are the only 2 in the 28.8s right now. I say that right as Kyle Bichelia jumps up into a 28.88 to go up to 3rd quickest, and a 28.98 for Chris Louviere to put him up into the top 10. Already, the 66 of William Duncan is back into the pits for adjustments and tires. Obviously did not feel something right with that car and wanted to get an adjustment to get back out there and set quicker times. Because right at the moment, he's 31st quickest of the entire field.
Yeah, they've definitely been struggling with off the truck pace.
For sure, for sure. As we have, you might think you're seeing double looking at the two Culo Alfa Romeos down the front straightaway, and you'd almost be right if it wasn't for that little yellow outline on the outside of the 13 of Daniel Voiles on the roof number. But Santander stepping up to sponsor both cars on any weekend in which they are in a location where Santander is headquartering. Because it just does not... Man, it doesn't actually look like Fabio Vitabassa has a really quick car here in qualifying. He's dropping back.
Oh, yeah.
He's coming into the pits,
Okay, it looks
actually.
like he's coming in, yeah.
We have a third, a 28.8, and it's rookie Roberto Crown Jr. for Fingai Saitomi. The last driver to find a seat over the offseason jumps up into third quickest. He's been quietly, anonymously not bad in his rookie season. He's had some really sneaky top 15 and top 10 results that have gone under the radar. He really hasn't been somebody we've talked about week in and week out, but he has not been doing terribly for his first few races in this series. There's a driver that must be happy to be back on an oval. Sixth quickest at the moment, Alex Constantine, after looking like the man on the short tracks during that 4-race short track stretch. He's up to sixth in qualifying here at Texas so far. Back into his comfort zone.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting because he wasn't doing quite that well on... This is the best... In fact, this is the best qualifying he's had pretty much all year, aside from Richmond. Maybe Richmond.
Guess it's good to unload quick. We've got some people still out there turning 28s. Daniel Giroux is still doing 28.9s, but he's got Mitchell Mark stuck ahead of him, and he's having trouble making any forward progress on his lap times at the moment. Some people out there look to be going out there to test out their long run cars at the moment in these dying minutes of qualifying. We've got people coming out on the track with fresh sets of tires, though, so do not count out an improvement in the end of this qualifying session. Aiden Shepard and William Duncan join the racetrack. Arnie Nugroho as well. Back of the field right now. Both of their cars in the bottom 4 positions are the Crescent, bottom 5 positions are the Crescent Enterprise machines of Huji-Yan and Ray Takada. Takada fresh off of a near race victory at Watkins Glen last week. And right back to where she seemed to be running before that race, it feels like. That is not what they would want to see. They'd hope that race was a turnover in form. Chris Louviere has jumped up into the top 5 when we weren't looking, in 5th place. And Tristan Wilhoit and Aiden Shepard have cracked the top 10. There's a lot of Texas natives.
Reed is also native here. Probably the closest to the track, I think.
Yep.
Out of all the drivers.
There's a lot of Texas natives here in the WTSS. You're going to hear a lot about it all weekend long and during the race. There's another one in Ryan Bolden in the 7.
Yeah.
We're in the dying minutes of this qualifying session.
Yeah,
fresh
there
tire
hasn't been
drivers.
there hasn't been much change at the front, so
No, but keep an eye on Aiden Shepard and William Duncan. If they can get a lap of clean air, they'll get their chance. Less than a minute remaining. Chris Dodd improves, jumps up to 34th. Another improvement. William Duncan, even in traffic, does a 29.0. So obviously it looks like that was the right call to go back out there on fresh tires with some adjustments, but traffic in the way of the 66. He's going to have to clear the 2 of Daniel Giroux while making a move, while trying to go through 3 and 4.
and he's not going to clear him.
That is going to
into the
basically
line.
forfeit that lap. Once we begin standby, anybody who's started a lap, that was still an improvement for Duncan. Moves up to 24th quickest, even while overtaking the 2 of Daniel Giroux. But it put him on an awkward line into turn 1. Those fresh tires are helping, but traffic itself is not helping.
And he's coming in.
And he's coming in, he's giving up. Dying stages of qualifying here at Texas. Aiden Shepard ties his personal best lap and stays
Oh
10th
my.
quickest. To the 1,000th of a second, ties his best lap.
That's
but
consistent, though.
stays 10th quickest on that fresh set of tires. Everybody that's out there right now that started a lap before we hit standby gets to finish their lap. But in the dying seconds of this session, no one out there can find an improvement. And for the second time this season already, rookie Jake Stevens has put it on the pole on his second different track type of the season. Rocket Atkinson Racing once again have come out swinging this weekend. Their other driver, Sebastian Van Dalen, in the 8th position. Wongswat, the only one not shown in the top 10. But it is Jake Stevens on the pole for the second time in his WTSS career in just his short 9-race stint so far in this series. Daniel Giroux, Roberto Crown Jr., Kyle Bichelia, Chris Louviere, Alex Constantine, Mitchell Mark, Sebastian Van Dalen, Tristan Wilhoit, and Aiden Shepard, your top 10. Finn Guy, Vita Bassa, Tamura, Hill, and Krasta getting his first top 15 qualifying in almost an entire season's time. And rounding out the rest of the running order, you can see it right there. The highest qualifying Hamilton Autosport car is Mark Nutt in 16th place. Probably one of the worst qualifyings I've seen out of that team in quite some time. And championship leader Ryan Reed will have to start from the 29th position in his home race. But it is Jake Stevens on the pole at Texas. Congratulations to him and Rocket Atkinson Racing. It's the team's third pole of the season in their first 9 races. Can Stevens keep the lead off the start? Unlike at Willow Springs, we'll just have to wait and see. 100 laps await us at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll see for the race.